Hello, thank you again for joining me here at Bert's Books. This time, you're going to have to excuse the noise out. I've got to do this with the windows open because of the heat. There will be street noise. Anyway, this one will be a slightly unexpected and unplanned foray into the world of the celebrity biog. Now, in this case, for people of my sort of age, or for British people of my sort of age group, the celebrity in question will be more than familiar and I think probably generally held with a degree of affection. All right, he has his detractors, but as far as celebrities that someone like me would remember from the 70s, not not the sort of toxic legacy that you might say for some. Can you guess who it is? Let's give you a clue. Not Jimmy Hill. No. All right, let's try again. Yes, with horrible inevitability, I'm going to be lapsing into really corny celebrity impersonation, sub the level of those cheeseball entertainers that you'd get on late 70s and early 80s, early evening comedy shows. If there's one thing, one minimal rung above the Frank Spencer impersonation, is the really thought that. Really thought. I'm sorry. Now I'm forced to think about it. There is some disagreement on how we would pronounce his name. Is it Bruce Forsyth or is it
Bruce Forsyth?
top class entertainer? In any case, now this I'd never heard of this book. It came out, I think, in 2013. The name on the spine, the publisher's name, seemed familiar to me. John Blake. I believe that is the John Blake who was the gossip column editor for your super sizzling current bun. Yeah. So that sort of pedigree. And as for the author, Jules Stenson. Now, I didn't know a lot about Jules Stenson. One of the first things that caught my eye when I did a little search, assuming it's the same person, I don't want to hear from anybody's fucking lawyers here, but ex-News of the World features editor Jules Stenson. This is an article on the BBC News website from July 2015. News of the World features editor Jules Stenson has been given a 4-month suspended jail sentence for his part in the phone hacking scandal. Yes, so that's the kind of pedigree we're talking here. Now, I've got a little way into it. I can't say it's not badly written. At least you could ask is that the guy will be able to write, but that's no guarantee with figures in that line, I can say from personal experience. But it's pretty readable so far. I haven't got very far in. I suppose there is a slightly tabloidy flavour to it. It inevitably, I guess, it does point out a few chapters in the page just fell open, and the start of one particular chapter points out that Brucey has bedded not one but 2 Miss Worlds. Although he's been outperformed there by George Best. But yes, well, how does that look on the old scoreboard, eh? So yeah, I guess it promises to be fairly scurrilous. As for a life lived in the public eye, it's got to be a pretty interesting story, really. I mean, it sort of traces back to his beginnings, that sort of entertainment circuit around the time of the second one. A disastrous debut gig. It sounds like a real bit of cheese, but it didn't, it didn't put him off. He persevered, found his way with it. So pretty fascinating sort of trajectory old Brucey had as far as a life in showbiz went. There's a lot of preoccupation with the gongs in this. The OBE or whatever was not enough. It needed to be a knighthood and blah blah. I don't quite get the hang up with all that, but apparently that was a bit of a fixation. But yeah, illustrated photo sections, all that kind of stuff. So pretty readable so far. It's probably not a book that will stay on my shelf very long after I'd read it, but as far as the subject matter goes, I remember his. In fact, I did once get in to see the Generation game getting filmed in the studio. This would have been, he sort of disappeared and came back to it, didn't he? I forget whether this was before or after Jim Davidson did it. I'm thinking probably about 1994. A friend of mine knew somebody working at the Beeb, and the offer popped up. Do you guys want to come and see the Generation game getting filmed? Of course we do. Yes, and it was a lot of fun. I've got to say, he did his own warm up. That reputation as a proper old school entertainer that's no exaggeration. He did his own warm up so that before the actual filming starts, he himself comes out. And I think traditionally this would usually be somebody else's job in show business. Brucey did it for himself. He comes out before filming starts and warms the audience up with a bit of routine before they launch into the real thing. And it was a hoot. It was so entertaining. Yeah, I can't quite remember the date of this. In my head, it's around 1994. If it was summer or winter, I don't know. But no complaints from me. It was, I suppose one of those, I won't say a unifying figure because my parents hated him. Not everyone loved him, but, knowingly corny as he could be, I never minded Bruce Forsyth. He was, one of those figures on television who never going to be a hero of mine or anything, but he did his job with a certain amount of charisma. So fair play. So yeah, I'll probably persevere with this. The idea, can't say I'm thrilled at the background of parties involved, but there it is. Anyway, thank you for joining me for that. I hope I will see you soon.
Nice to see you. Nice.